If you're like me, you're probably excited to grind and level up that Hunter's Call rep as fast as possible to unlock all of the new stuff in the Hunter's Call shop, as well as working toward those very desirable rings that you get after each distinction. But how do we get there fast? As of right now, I'm completely convinced that this voyage is the single best way to level up your Hunter's Call rep as fast as possible, and there's a few reasons for that. First of all, this voyage is fast. If you're on a sloop, you'll only usually need to sink 3 skeleton ships in order to finish it up, assuming that no one else shows up to the world event, but in my experience, they rarely do. And if you're an experienced player, you can finish each of these ships within just a couple of minutes, or even if you're not, after doing this voyage a few times, you'll get faster as you practice. When considering the speed and ease of this voyage, we can easily see that this is by far the most efficient raid voyage for the amount of loot that you get. And you might be asking, shouldn't I be doing the Ghost Fleet raid if it's a higher tier voyage? And the answer to that is no. And that's because this voyage takes much longer and requires you to sink a minimum of 17 ships for a very similar payout as the other voyage. This voyage also takes much longer and will use much more supplies, making it overall just kind of a waste of time. Another reason why this voyage is better than the Ghost Fleet is due to its position on the map. If you didn't know, the Skeleton Fleet only ever spawns in one place, which is slightly north of the Reaper's hideout, which is fantastic for us when we're doing Hunter's Call raids because that means we're also located right beside a sea post, where we can still conveniently turn in all of our Hunter's Call loot without having to sail all the way to an outpost, and this can save a lot of time. Now that we went over some of the reasons why this is actually a pretty insane strategy, let's quickly go over what it will look like from an actual gameplay standpoint. First, when you spawn in, you're going to want to make sure to grab your emissary flag before you set sail. It doesn't really matter if you grab any supplies or even a storage crate, since you'll be getting at least one of them and a bunch of supplies each time you take down a skeleton ship. Then just vote down a raid voyage and get going. When you get there, you'll be tasked with defeating 3 waves of ships. If you're on a sloop, it's likely that you'll only ever have to fight 1 ship per wave, but again, there will be more if you're on a larger boat. During the raid voyage, each ship will drop some Hunter's Call loot and a storage crate, which is definitely always worth picking up, especially once your Hunter's Call flag is grade 5. But the treasure we're mostly after is the one you get after defeating the very last ship in the event, the monstrous Kraken Eye. This thing has a base value of 15,000 gold and will be a very large contributor to the amount of rep you gain. But all of the smaller treasure stacks up fast too, so make sure to grab it. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that you want to make sure that you're fighting in the very west part of the event area that you possibly can, so when the event is over, you'll already be positioned close to the North Star Sea Post. Like I said earlier, going here to sell your loot will save you about 5 to 10 minutes of sailing each time you do this raid voyage. After going here and selling, just vote down a new raid voyage and go again. Just do this as many times as you want, and I can guarantee that you'll be farming Hunter's Call rep at an extraordinary rate.